How's it going, everyone? We're going to take a look at the new Batman Adventures figure by Mafex. This is interesting because I think this is the first time Mafex are doing the animation or cartoon version of these characters. They've done movie stuff before. They've done the comic likeness of Batman before in blue and black and grey. And that was very good. I really love that figure, and I really love what Mafex are doing with their comic output so far. Whether it's DC or Marvel, that stuff has been seriously on point. So I'm excited to see what their cartoon figures are going to be like. So packaging wise, straight away inside the box, it's very similar to the other Mafex figures out there currently. But one thing you might notice straight away is this figure is bigger. It's a sizable difference to the Batman comic version, which I'll bring out at the end of the video just to kind of do a side by side, which I don't normally do. But yeah, this guy's definitely a little bit more beefy. You can see he's got much more broad over chest. He's just a taller figure overall. But it's cool to see that he comes with a Bruce Wayne head sculpt there, some hand parts, Batarang, the claw there, hook, and then he's got a plastic sculpted cape hidden behind all of this, and he's got the fabric cape already attached to the figure. Packaging on the front, you've got a portrait of Batman there as well. I really like the whole cityscape theme going on down here, and basically throughout the packaging. It is quite nice and thematically quite appropriate, I think, and it fits with the new Batman Adventures. So this is the new Batman Adventures, not to be confused exactly, which is what I do, of the original Batman animated, where he has a slightly different costume. It's a bit more blue. This is the second season, or the second kind of bit where they move on a bit, I guess. But it's a nice look overall. But you can see here there's going to be some slight restriction on articulation with the sculpted cape, but I think that was going to be expected anyway. But still, nice looking packaging still. All the sides are very, very nice. So I really like what's happening with the packaging here, more so than I have done with previous Mafex figures. I think it's just that whole city theme backdrop really kind of lends itself well to this Batman Adventures figure. But let's get it open because I'm pretty excited to see what he's going to be like in the hands. So here's Batman with all the option parts laid out in front of us. We'll go through the option parts first, and then we'll go through the figure. Hopefully the figure doesn't fall down, because sometimes it can do that. So first is the base stand, which is included in most Mafex figures these days. This isn't a very good base stand. It's super lightweight here, so it doesn't really accommodate the actual figure. In this case, he's a little bit on the heavy side, so it's pretty poor in my opinion. Get a separate third-party base stand. Use some coat hangers if you want. On the base stand topic still, you get two types of claws. You've got this wider one here and this narrow one in my right hand. This one's got the screw so you can tighten or loosen it if you want to. This one is just kind of is what it is. I don't know why they gave both. They have for some reason. You've also got this kind of little peg seat thing. To be honest, I'm not sure exactly how to use this one or why I needed this one, because this bit is too thick and I'm not really going to have him in a kind of position that this fits into the gaps or anything like that, so it's a bit weird. I'm guessing this kind of slots in here, and then you've kind of got this little kind of peg here. I don't know how to use that peg. I really don't know how to use this one, and this figure doesn't even come with a like an instruction sheet or something. Not that they need to, but yeah, that would have been useful because I don't know what to do with this. Then you get a kind of a stick, a rod, plastic rod, and I don't know what to do with this one either. I guess you can plug it in to the base like so here, and then either kind of stick it up in his ribs or something, or through his crotch or something. I don't really know. I don't know how to use this one. They've given it to you. Or maybe even use it with this cape here. I don't know, but it's a bit complicated, but I don't know. I also think I lost a little tiny bit on the base stand, but I'm not 100% sure. If that comes in your box, then yeah, it means I've lost it. So Batman comes with the fists already attached to the figure, and then one of the pairs of hands that he's got is going to be the open palm hands like so. These are just plain black gloved hands. They're pretty beefy hands. They're quite large hands. This is a slightly bigger figure than the comic counterpart as well, but otherwise they're just pretty much black gloved hands, so nothing bad really. They're fine, fit for purpose. He's got some that are slightly more relaxed here that you can use. I like using these hands quite a lot. Then he's got ones to hold onto his grappling hook. You can see they're partitioned with the first two fingers, last two fingers. They're not great to hold on to that, but I'll show you that in just a moment. And then he's got final pair of hands. This is to hold on to the Batarang itself. You can see there, you can just plant one Batarang in, which only comes with a single one. But yeah, that's not a bad hand to have. It's good to have if you've got additional kind of accessories that you want to give him, like a rope or something. That's going to be a convenient hand to have. We already saw in the packaging he comes with the unmasked or Bruce Wayne head sculpt as well. So he's got the regular one as Batman there with a cowl, and then he's got just his Bruce Wayne here, looking very sharp, very clean. He's got a little kind of quiff here with the strand of hair. Otherwise his hair is very nice and clean, very stylized, slick, looking good. Eyebrows looking good. All facial features looking very good on this guy. Really like his chin and his lips is all done very, very nicely. You got a little bit of seam there, but nothing too big. Because of how simplistic this kind of whole design is, the Bruce Timm design, you may or may not have certain things that kind of stand out a little bit more, like issues of paint or kind of blemishes here and there. But my head sculpt for Bruce Wayne is looking rather good, I would say. He comes with one Batarang, just a single lone one in a simple shape like this, which you can just slot into the hand that we saw before. So I'm going to bring that hand back out. So I'll do it on the right hand here. It doesn't hold it super tight. You just kind of place it in like this, and then it kind of holds. It will probably fall out, but you only get the single one. I believe the comic one came with a couple of those, so a shame he only comes with one. And then final kind of weapon accessory thing is going to be his grappling hook, which is already extended. You can't shorten this or anything. Be careful, you don't want to snap this by accident. That's probably going to happen for some people, but it should be okay. This is how you put this onto the hand. You just grab the appropriate hand like so, and then slot that in. It doesn't hold onto it great, and it's kind of heavy weighted down there, so it will eventually fall off. Actual details on this though, by the way, are pretty good. The hook at the end is nice. It's nice and clean as well. But yeah, it's just the hand doesn't grip onto it too well. So depending on how you pose the figure, you might want to rotate his hand or something like that. And then this final bit is going to be the actual solid plastic cape. And this does have some flex to it. My fingerprints are going to probably show on this now. But you can see it's been sculpted and molded. So it's got the kind of curves going on down there as well, which is nice. It's a nice looking silhouette down here as well. We will attach this later on in the video. So if you just want to have that kind of basic silhouette of Batman standing still with the cape down, this is perfect to use, and it's going to be a lot better than the one that's already attached in, which is the fabric one. This is still nice. It's going to hinder your articulation because the shoulder bits are solid here. There's a little bit of flex, but it means he's not going to be able to reach up. So there's a use for this, and then there's a use to just swap it out. It's very easy to do, but we'll get into that after we look at the figure. So onto the figure then. This is Batman, and he's standing a lot taller than you might recall the comic Batman doing. And I'll bring him out in just a minute as well. So what we have here is a very, very streamlined, very slick, very clean looking figure. I have to say this is a very sharp looking figure. Some people might not like the Bruce Timm DC animated universe kind of look. I don't know why you wouldn't like that. Why wouldn't you like that? I do. I love this design. Remember, this is from the later season of the animated series, so he doesn't have the oval shaped bat symbol on his chest, and kind of shades of grey, a little bit different, and then it's black rather than the kind of navy blue. That's okay. So this is going for what it's trying to go for, that later look, which is fine. It looks great. I love the simplistic nature of it. The silhouette as a figure and a toy goes is awesome. Obviously, if you swap to this, it's going to be even more clean looking. But just how the actual artwork and that art design of the series is, how clean and minimalistic it is, this figure really, really does nail that. Obviously not perfectly, because now you've got some broken bits of the joints and the seams and such, but they're not that big of a deal in my opinion. Obviously it's an action figure. At the end of the day, you're going to have that. But this otherwise has a very nice looking silhouette. Generally, colors are pretty good. The grays are pretty good. The pale yellow around his utility belt is good. Some people might prefer a little bit of a deeper yellow. I'm okay with it. I think the grey sometimes looks a bit weird on his arms, depending on how much light you've got shining on it. Some of it's going to really depend on your own setup, but mostly it's fine. It's not as clean grey looking as some of the promo shots make out, but it is still quite good. But in terms of sculpt elsewhere, like his cowl and this head sculpt, it's looking very good, very clean as well. Very kind of angular, like that Bruce Timm style does have, so it's quite good. I like the ears going on there too. And then you've got the shoulder bit here, which is a little bit different from the one that we've seen there. So he's got clearance for his shoulders there, which is good. And then that's when the fabric stuff starts building up here or happening here. That's pretty much glued to this section. We'll get a closer look later. Underside is like so, very clean looking as well. So it's all good. So if you want his cape kind of fluttering upwards, it's fine. You're not going to have too much distraction there. Utility belt continues as well, which looks just as good on the back. His butt looks good as well, just as it did on the front and the crotch side. His gloves look like this. They're a little bit, well, I didn't really expect them to be like this, I suppose. Not a negative. I just expected them to be a little bit more sharper pointed. I'm just not that familiar with these ones, so I didn't have a closer look at them or pay attention to them when I used to watch the TV series. But they're still good. They're still done nicely. And then we've got the boots here, which look nice as well. As I did mention a little bit at the beginning, that he doesn't stand always perfectly on his own. He's got little piddly feet really, and piddly ankles. And because he's got a nice big broad chest as this design tends to have, he can sometimes topple over a little bit too easily. So use a stand of some sort or some blue tack or something, or just get him into a position where the balance is a little bit more spread. So yeah, sometimes it's a little bit of a tricky thing to get him standing on just 2 feet. As far as looks go, this is a very nice looking figure, but because it's so simplistic and it lacks the kind of musculature and things like that, some blemishes may stand out a little bit too much, depending on you and how you've used your figure. So for me, for example, you can see some blemishes on the bat symbol here. That was already like that, which is a little bit of a shame. It's got a scratch here as well, and then you'll start noticing scratches here and there because you've kind of articulated it and posed it. So I can see that happening already in my shoulder here. The shoulder, this is the worst bit, which is unfortunate, and you can kind of see some hairline scratches there and his belly around the utility belt. So that's bound to happen, and it's bound to look a little bit more obvious because it's a much more simplistic, minimalistic designed figure. But let's talk about articulation. So his head articulation is actually pretty limited. So sure, he can look left and right. Tilting is not bad, actually. Looking up is a bit of a tiny bit of a struggle. He can do it, but not great. And then looking down is, again, not great. It's okay. You're gonna have to play with some angles a bit to get it, you know, looking just right. And then his torso is nice and twisted, but if you go too far, do it too much, you're gonna start seeing those stretch marks, as I showed earlier on. So that can happen down at the belly too, and he's got a nice kind of tilt there. So his torso movement is quite good. The arms, without the solid cape, using just this cape and a fabric cape, it's nice. It can go all the way up, and then this does push up or flex up just a tiny bit. There's not as much flex here, but it still kind of moves a little bit to let him reach upwards, which is great. My joint on the right shoulder is a little bit tight. You can kind of hear that here at the bicep, so hopefully yours won't be quite as tight, but you can play around with that. Just like mine though, you might start seeing some stretch marks around the joints there. The grey is not great on mine, and that might be just because, I don't know, maybe the grey is kind of decoloring, or it was like that, I can't remember, but that's kind of one issue I have with this as well. You got the bicep swivel here, and then the bend at the elbow, which is nice, and then finishing off with the wrist here, which is all good. This is just on a normal kind of peg of Mafex, so it can come up a little bit easily at times. So in terms of legs, he can pull down his legs to give an extra range of motion, and he can twist there as well. In terms of splits, he can do it like so. Not so much this way around, but play around with it, and then you'll get some sort of high kick-ish. It's not too high, to be honest. He's better off being left in kind of leaping pose, crouching poses, rather than trying to do kind of head high kicks. It just doesn't look really good, especially with the big bulky chest he's got. Knee bend like so, which is nice. I really do like the knee bend here. This is what it looks like on the front. Doesn't look too bad. And then he's got the little ankle pivot and twist there. You can see this is actually really good, really excellent range of motion there. And then finally we finish off with the toe hinge, which is good as well. As I mentioned though, again, his feet are a little bit piddly, so sometimes there is going to be a little bit of balance issue getting him to stand. So getting him to kind of leap isn't really too bad. You can do that quite easily, even like just getting him to throw a punch, for example. It's not bad at all, and it looks fine. Again, play with the angles and things like that. It's great, but because he is again a bit heavy on the top, get a more suitable stand, because the one included is pretty garbage, to be honest. So you'll get him into a decent amount of poses that you want him into, but don't expect overly dramatic acrobatic poses that the comic Batman can do. But let's go on to swapping some parts. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with the head first. Just yank off the cowl head like so, and this is what you're left with here. And I'm going to show you that before I swap the Bruce Wayne head. You can just take this fabric cape off super simply, like so. And just having a closer look at the fabric cape, it's a sheet of fabric like this. Material wise, I think it's a little bit thicker than the comic version of the Batman, and you got a wire going down both extreme ends of it like so, nothing down the center. I think it's fine, it's fit for purpose. I'm quite happy with this cape. Stitching is a little bit loose here, but that's okay. But yeah, I'm generally happy with the cape. Yes, it does look very different from having the plastic or rubber thing here at the shoulder and the neck, and then it goes to fabric, but depending on your display, it actually doesn't look too bad. I think take a look at the poses at the end of this video to see for yourself, but I think otherwise this is pretty good. It's good that they're giving you both options. This is glued to the top bit there. If you do want to swap it over to this one, we just got to place it on like so here, and as I mentioned, it does trap the shoulders in though, but it's obviously going to give him a super slick, very awesome looking silhouette there. We're going to take that off though, because we're going to carry on with the Bruce Wayne head sculpt. So I'm going to leave the cape off, because why not? Just attach the Bruce Wayne head sculpt, and then there we've got Bruce Wayne here. Actually, let's put the cape back on, because I kind of like it, or prefer it, with the Bruce Wayne head and the cape. So let's do that. So attach that back there. and he's looking good, a little bit more relaxed. Maybe he just walked into his bat cave, a little bit sulking, maybe, who knows. Okay, so let's change the hand. So that's just going to be a simple case of pulling off the hand, and we'll swap it with the one where he's going to shoot the batarang, not the batarang, the grappling hook. Why not? Because that's quite different. Got the wrong hand, let's get the right hand. Just plug that in. It's quite simple to do. Remember, it is a Mafex joint, so sometimes the hands can come off quite easily. I did mention though he can't grip the grappling hook too great in his hand. I'm not super convinced with it, but we can still try it anyway. I forgot how to do this now. There we go. It's a bit awkward doing it on camera, but there we go, got it. So as I mentioned before, if you hold it kind of palm facing down or palm facing up, then it stays a little bit better. But when you get it like that, this is, I feel, going to be more natural. If you were to do it and then kind of aim and do it, then eventually this kind of loosens up. So it doesn't hold it too great in my honest opinion. It looks good when you get it to set, but it doesn't hold it that great. And really that's it. He doesn't have a lot of hands to swap around with. You can play around with the grappling hook and the batarang in the other hand, but really that's all there is. There isn't a huge lot of swappable parts with this guy. So before I bring out the comic Batman, let's swap out the solid cape again, or swap in the solid cape, and just show you what that looks like exactly. Here we go. You can see how awesomely slick and amazing this silhouette looks. Obviously I haven't got him posed up or straightened up properly, but you get the idea. It looks amazing. I honestly do like the fabric cape. I think it looks just as good, but I think, you know, different needs, different purposes, I suppose. I like both. This clearly is a cleaner look for him, but yeah, both can't do wrong in my opinion. I think both look very good. Let me bring out Comic Batman just to give you a quick size comparison on what they are like. So what, Comic Batman is supposed to be 15 centimeters, I believe it was. And he's got a massive, massive bloody cape, right? Look at this cape, it's huge. But you can see he's a wee bit shorter than the Bruce Timm or New Adventures of Batman, or Animated Batman basically. He's a tiny bit, just a shade shorter. I haven't got them both standing straight, but he's just a teeny shade bit shorter. But in terms of torso area, chest area, this guy on the left is definitely much bigger and more pronounced, than just, yeah, everything is bigger about him up top there versus the Comic Batman. I just realized my Comic Batman's chest is looking a bit smoky and foggy there. Well, that's disappointing. Maybe it's just dusty. But yeah, this is not bad looking side by side. I mean, they're very different Batman at the end of the day. So we're just talking about this one first. And for what this is supposed to be, the Bruce Timm Batman, for at least that particular season of Batman, this is pretty solid. This is definitely solid. So that brings us to the end of this video covering this Mafex Batman Adventures figure. Now Mondo have done a figure of this as well, and other manufacturers too, but I think as far as Japanese manufacturers go, I think Mafex might be the first. And it's good. Overall, I like this figure. Where it kind of lets me down just a wee bit, first is the option parts. They're not exciting enough and not interesting enough. The Batarang, one single Batarang at that, is good. It's good to have it, sure. And then the hook shot as well is good to have again. But that's it. That's not that interesting. So, bit of a shame there. However, I love the fact that they gave the plastic cowl cape and a fabric version as well. Having both is awesome, and I hope more manufacturers did that with their superheroes moving forward. That's just too good. And especially with this one, because it really does work amazingly well for both. If you want the cleanest look, natural position, standing, then plastic cape is going to give you that. And if you want fabric look for more dynamic action, dynamic poses, then the dynamic cape is going to give you that, or the fabric cape is going to give you it. So it's great to have that choice, and I love them for that. So generally speaking, yes, good looking figure. Mine has the armpit issue. The blemishes appear too much on mine, in my opinion, especially at that armpit. Hopefully other people don't have that, or it exhibits it to a much lesser degree than mine did. And hopefully moving forward they can kind of clean that up. But I think it's also because it's a simplistic design by nature it's going to be a little bit more obvious perhaps. That said, I love this figure overall, and I would love to see them try Superman in this same style from Superman cartoon or this Justice League. That would be awesome to see as well. But I know Joker is coming out, which I do have pre-ordered, so stay tuned for that one. Let me know what you think or thought about this figure down in the comments below if you're going to get it, or even if you're not going to get it. And I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe, stay healthy.